Hey, what's up there, youselfers? It's finally here, a video review of some of my favorite hand tools. Alright, so I'm just going to keep this video short and sweet and just cover the tools I think are most useful, in other words, more practical when working on cars. And you can use my recommendations to buy tools if you're just starting to work on cars. This way you kind of get ahead of the curve. Or even if you're an avid do-it-yourselfer, you can use these, my recommendations to add to your tool chest. So first up, my 3/8 extendable ratchet with a swivel head. Now, even though this is larger and heavier than my regular Craftsman ratchet, I tend to use this a lot more. Because not only it can do whatever my regular Craftsman ratchet can do, it's also extendable. And with the swivel end, it can get into those really hard to reach bolts and fasteners that might be underneath an engine bracket or water pump. Now, this thing being extendable not only gives you greater reach, but also gives you more torque when going to remove some of those bigger than average bolts that you might need to take off. Alright, a couple of things to pay attention to when buying an extendable ratchet with a swivel end. First thing is that you want to make sure that this swivel head is not easily adjusted. In other words, they take somewhat of an effort for each click to adjust this at different angles, because a lot of times you're going to have to set your angle and then you're going to go put this down the engine bay into a bolt that's hard to reach, and if this is loose, once you get on the bolt, it's gonna, maybe click once and then it's gonna be out of adjustment. You're gonna have to take it back out, readjust it and put it back in. And it's just a big hassle. The other thing you wanna pay attention to is that how many degrees of turn it takes for this socket in order for you to hear it click. Now, this is pretty good, as I'm about to show you. If you go get a cheap one, it may not be as good, and then, you're going to be using this a lot in order to get to those hard to reach bolts, and if it takes a lot of turning for a click, then it kind of defeats the whole purpose, and this may not be as useful as it should be. Let's compare it to my Craftsman ratchet. And coming in as a close second, my set of long ratcheting wrenches with a reversible swivel head. Now, these are also made by Easy Red, and I use them a lot, and they're a great tool. They're long, so you get more torque, but also they have a swivel end and are also reversible. Alright, now if you're thinking of buying ratcheting wrenches and trying to decide whether to buy the small or the longer one, I would definitely recommend the longer ones, especially if you can buy ones like mine with an offset tip like this. This thing being offset a little bit allows you to get into a lot more places and makes this tool a lot more useful. In fact, you can get, I would say, into about 80 to 90% of places where the smaller ratchet could get into. But you also, since this is longer, have more torque, so taking off bolts becomes a lot easier with this one. Obviously, make sure you get one with a swivel end. Same rule applies here. You don't want this to be too loose. Also, if you can help it, buy one that's reversible. Because if you buy one like this, every time you try to go to a different direction, you have to take this out, flip it over. And if you're doing it in a hard to reach area, that's going to be a hassle. Also, if you're not careful, you could potentially get this trapped somewhere because you can't reverse it. And if you are taking your bolt out, it's going to come out with the bolt, and it could get trapped underneath maybe a bracket or part of your engine. And then you're going to run into trouble that way too. Next, I would recommend you buy an assortment of extensions for all your different ratchets. Alright, so when buying extensions, here's a couple of things you want to pay attention to. You want to buy extensions that have texture on them like this and are not smooth like this one, because being a grease monkey, the odds are good your hands are going to be very oily, and then when you're trying to twist this with the socket at the end attached to a bolt, trying to remove a bolt, and if it's smooth, your hand is just going to slip off this and you're not going to get good traction. But if it's textured like this, you're going to get plenty of traction and be able to remove the bolt a lot easier. Also, you want to buy extensions that have a head like this one, because these extensions not only work as a swivel head extension, which will allow you to get into more places, but also if you press down on the socket locks in place and becomes a regular extension. Alright, so let's speed things up a little bit. In my opinion, every tool chest should have these adapters. These adapters are for your 3/8 to 1/4 inch and vice versa. As you can see here, this is a 1/4 inch 3/8, and also we got 1/2 inch to 3/8 and 3/8 to 1/2 inch. And the reason I like to keep these adapters is because of space. A lot of time when you work on your engine, there's not a whole lot of space. And for example, maybe your 3/8 ratchet can't get into an area to remove a bolt, but your 1/4 inch ratchet can. And if you have this adapter, you can just put this over your 1/4 inch ratchet with the 3/8 socket, and that combination is happens to be the perfect size for that application, and that way you can go get to that bolt. Alright, so here's a quick demonstration of what I'm talking about. Let's say you had to get into an area where you only had 2 inches of space, and that's how the length of your ratchet and socket had to be. Alright, so here we got our 3/8 ratchet with our long socket, and it's obviously way too big. And here's our 3/8 ratchet with a regular socket, and it's too small. Here's our 1/4 inch ratchet with a regular socket, and it's still too small. Here's a 1/4 inch ratchet with a long socket, and as you can see, this is too long. But here's a 1/4 inch to 3/8 adapter with our 1/4 inch ratchet and our 3/8 socket, and this is the perfect size. And next on the recommendations list, a nice set of picks. I only paid, I don't know, $3 or $4 for these at Harbor Freight, and they've paid for themselves multiple times over just by saving me a bunch of time when working on cars. They're very good for removing connectors, prying on connectors, little plastic trim pieces. And again, those are just a few examples. You'll find many different uses for these, and for only $4 or $5, they're a no-brainer. And next on the list, a nice strong pry bar, especially when you're just starting out. You're not going to have an air compressor and air tool, so you want something that's going to allow you to put more torque on those bigger bolts and nuts, like your axle nut, maybe the lug nuts, or other bolts that are maybe rusted on. And a nice strong pry bar will allow you to do that. Just make sure you buy something with lifetime warranty, because there's a decent chance it will get damaged or break during the time you own it. You'll also need an accessory for your pry bar, and by that, I mean a long piece of pipe. This is going to allow you to put even more torque on the different bolts you're going to be taking off with your pry bar. In fact, it's going to allow you to put so much torque that you could even bend your pipe. I wouldn't pay for a lifetime warranty on this one though. Also, if you have a large toolbox or the space to have a tray like this, I definitely recommend it. It helps you keep your sockets organized, but not only that, it's ease of access. By that I mean you can easily remove a socket, use it, put it back, keep things organized, keeps things rolling. You save a lot of time. At the same time, you keep everything organized. Alright, now onto my jack stands. I really liked using these jack stands. These are okay, but I don't like the way this is shaped up top. I believe they shaped it this way so that when you're putting this on underneath the car by the pinch welds on the sides, the pinch weld goes in here and then it's secured here, but the pinch welds tend to be never this long. They're shorter, and what happens is these on the sides, they dig in to the underneath the car and dent it in a little bit. But this is a lot more, it works a lot more better. The pinch weld rests here and it's more secure, more stable, and you don't damage your car when you get a jack stand that's shaped this way. And with that said, gonna wrap this thing up. So if you found any of my 2 recommendations useful, please give this video a thumbs up, and you also might want to consider checking out some of my other videos that I've made. I'll put them up on the screen as video links so you can just click on them. Alright, thanks for watching. See you next time.